Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a skill that is, no joke, a universal key. It opens doors in every single part of your life, and that skill is the self introduction. Whether you're trying to land a new job, you're the new person in a class, or you're just meeting people at a party, getting this right is your ticket to making a fantastic first impression.
Oh boy, those five little words, right? So tell me about yourself. It's the question that can make even the most confident person's heart do a little backflip. You've totally been there. You're in a job interview and the hiring manager leans in, or you're in a new group and suddenly all eyes are on you. That moment can feel like it's absolutely packed with pressure.
But why if I told you there's a way to answer this question, not with that jolt of anxiety, but with genuine confidence? And not just once in a while, but every single time. Well, there is. It's a simple, really powerful formula. You can adjust for any situation you can think of, and today we are going to unpack it completely.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that core universal formula. Then we'll get into how to tweak your tone for different situations. We'll tackle those really high stakes moments like job interviews, dig into the super important and often hidden cultural rules, and then to wrap it all up, we'll do a quick polish by fixing some really common grammar mistakes.
Okay, let's get right into the heart of it. The secret to a great introduction isn't about memorizing some stiff, robotic speech. Not at all. It's about having a flexible framework, a kind of mental blueprint you can always fall back on. Think of this simple structure as your secret weapon for any introduction you will ever have to make.
And here it is. It's just three steps: present, past, and future. It's so simple and so easy to remember, which is exactly what you need when you're feeling a little nervous. You start with who you are right now, in this moment. Then you give a little bit of your history, and we'll talk about keeping it relevant to give some context. And finally, you wrap it up by looking forward. This structure is brilliant because it gives you a clear beginning, middle, and end. It makes you sound organized, confident, and like you've really got it together. All right, let's break down that first step, the present. This is just a snapshot of you right now. You'll always start with your name, of course, like, my name's Sarah, and then you'll state your main role. That could be, I'm a student at Columbia University, or I work as an engineer at Google, or I work for Time Magazine. Pretty straightforward. Now, in some situations, usually more personal ones, you might add a quick note about your family, something like, I'm married with 2 kids. But this is definitely optional, and you have to read the room. If it's a more casual, informal setting, like you're joining a book club, you could share a hobby instead. Something like, I enjoy running, or I'm really into science fiction. It just helps people connect with you on a more personal level right away. Okay, next up is the past, and I can't stress this enough. The magic word here is relevant. This is not the time for your entire life story from kindergarten to today. No way. You just want to give a tiny piece of background that explains how you got here. So in a professional context, you might mention your education or a key piece of experience. For example, I have a degree in project management, or my background is in marketing. See how that gives immediate context? Now, in a social setting, your past is about connecting the dots for people. It might be how you know the host at the party, like, I've known Amy for many years, we grew up together. Or it could be something as simple as, I've been living in New York for about 7 years. It just helps place you within the group. And finally, we land on the future. This is your powerful closing move. It's so important because it signals enthusiasm and purpose, and it cleanly ends your introduction. So in a job interview, you could say something like, I'm excited to explore how my skills will be a good fit for this role. If you're starting a class, it could be as simple as, I hope to learn a lot this semester. The absolute key here is that this step clearly and confidently signals that you're done speaking. It saves you from that super awkward moment where you just trail off and everyone's wondering if you're going to say more. This gives you a perfect, polished ending. Okay, so now that we have our present, past, future formula down, the next level of skill is learning how to adapt it. You see, the exact same structure can sound totally different depending on your tone and the words you choose. Let's really look at how this one framework can stretch and flex between formal and informal situations. The big difference really comes down to your language and your overall vibe. Formal introductions are for business or very official settings. They demand polished, proper language and a more serious, professional tone. You'll hear phrases like, may I introduce you to my colleague, Mr. Smith, or please allow me to introduce you to our CEO. On the flip side, you have informal introductions. These are for friends, parties, casual get-togethers. Here, the language is conversational and the tone is relaxed and friendly. You're way more likely to hear something like, hey, this is my friend Mark, or meet my new roommate, Tom. Knowing which one to pull out of your toolkit is really the key to fitting in and making people feel comfortable.
All right, let's turn up the heat a little bit. In those really high stakes situations, like a job interview or a big networking event, your introduction is so much more than just a greeting. It's a performance. It's your first and sometimes your only chance to show people what you're all about and make an impression that really sticks. And this leads us to a really powerful tool for professionals, the elevator pitch. You've probably heard this term before. The name comes from the idea that you should be able to deliver this quick, persuasive summary of yourself in the time it takes to ride an elevator with someone important. It's basically a super condensed, high impact version of our present, past, future formula, but it's specifically designed to quickly and effectively tell someone who you are, what you do, and what you want in a professional context. So for a job interview, we can actually expand our basic formula into these 5 specific steps. You always want to start with a warm greeting and a quick thank you for their time. Then give your brief introduction, name and background. Now this next part is absolutely critical. Summarize your experience using measurable results. We're talking numbers, percentages, concrete achievements. Then you connect those results directly to the job you're going for. And finally, you close it out with that strong, forward-looking statement we talked about to really show your excitement for the role. Now, check out this fantastic example. John doesn't just say, I'm a good project manager. That's boring and anyone can say it. He proves it. He gives a hard number. He reduced operational downtime by 30%. That one detail is so powerful. Using specific, data-backed results like this is what takes an introduction from good to unforgettable. It shows you're not just confident, you're competent. And notice how he ends by connecting his past success directly to the future value he can bring to their company. It's perfect. So far, we've pretty much focused on what to say, the words, the structure, but truly effective communication goes so much deeper than that. Now we need to talk about the unwritten rules of culture that decide how our words are actually heard and understood by other people. This, right here, is where real communication mastery happens. The famous linguist Edward Sapir really hit the nail on the head when he said, language cannot exist without culture. This is such a huge idea. It means that even if your grammar is absolutely perfect, you can still cause a misunderstanding or even offend someone if you don't understand the cultural context behind the words. What's seen as polite and friendly in one culture might come across as weird or even rude in another. Let's dig into some real-world examples to see what this means. In Chinese culture, a common greeting is, have you eaten yet? Now, this isn't literally asking about your lunch. It's a way of showing care and establishing a social connection. It comes from a cultural history where food security was a major concern, so asking if someone has eaten is a fundamental way of checking on their well-being. But in many Western cultures, asking such a direct personal question right off the bat might feel a little intrusive. Or take compliments. In many East Asian cultures, the valued trait of humility means that the polite response to praise is to deflect it or downplay it. It shows you're not arrogant. But in many Western cultures, which often place a high value on individualism, the standard polite response is to simply smile and say thank you. If you deflect the compliment, it can sometimes be seen as if you lack self-confidence. The point is, neither way is right or wrong. They're just different. And being aware of these deep cultural values is what allows for smooth, successful communication across borders. All right, we have covered the structure, we've talked about tone, and we've explored those deep cultural nuances. Now it's time for that final polish. Let's quickly run through 3 of the most common grammar mistakes that people make in introductions. Fixing these little things will make you sound so much more fluent and professional. First up, the job title. This is a tiny mistake, but I hear it all the time. People might say, I am finance manager, but the correct way to say, I am a finance manager. Why? Well, that little article, A, is super important. It signals that you are one of many finance managers in the world. When you leave it out, it almost sounds like your title is a unique name, like being the Queen of England. So the rule is simple. If your job is something you can count, and most are, you need to use the article a or an. So, he is an architect, not he is architect. It's such a quick fix that instantly makes you sound more natural. Mistake number 2 has to do with talking about how long you've been doing something. You might hear someone say, I am working here for 5 years. Now, people will understand you, but the grammatically correct tense is, I have been working here for 5 years. Let's quickly break down why. The phrase I am working just describes what you're doing this very second. But when you add a duration, like for 5 years, you're building a bridge from the past to the present. The present perfect continuous tense, that have been ing form, is designed to do exactly that. It shows that an action started in the past, has continued all this time, and is still going on right now. It adds that layer of duration and continuity. And our last little grammar fix is about talking about your responsibilities. It's very common to hear, I am responsible to do something, but the correct preposition is always for. And there's a second part to this rule. After that preposition for, if your next word is a verb, it has to be in the ing form, which we call a gerund. So the correct sentence is, I am responsible for reporting. Think of it as a two-part combo. You always have to use responsible for plus a verb that ends in ing. So for another example, you'd say, she is in charge of managing the budget, not in charge to manage. And there you have it, your complete toolkit for a really great introduction. You see, it isn't about one single trick. It's about combining three powerful things: that simple present, past, future formula, the social smarts to adapt your tone, and a genuine respect for cultural awareness. When you can bring all three of these elements together, that's what will truly set you apart. It's what will allow you to connect with anyone, anywhere. So from now on, try to think of your introduction not as a scary test, but as a real opportunity. It's the very first chapter of your story in any new situation, and it really does set the stage for everything that comes next. So, with this powerful new toolkit in your hands, the only real question left is, what story are you going to tell next?
You are doing great. Don't stop. Subscribe and watch the next video.